Hey, what's up guys, this is Oakley, and I wanted to bring to your attention basically a mod that's in the works. It is super promising. It's called Ancient Empires, and essentially what it attempts to do is use Attila, but bring in all the features and the time frame of Rome 2. Which I think is amazing. I'm really excited for this mod. And also I want to give a big shout out to Total Warzone. He's the guy who brought this mod to my attention. I worked with him. He shared with me all the details, got me the download files. Great guy. He has coverage for this mod as well. Check it out on his channel. I'll link that, a ton of times. He's going to do much better overviews of the whole scope of this. I am in this video just going to give you a cursory look at it and then dive more specifically into the battle details. But go for him definitely to see more videos on the overall scope of the mod. Like I said, Ancient Empires, we can go ahead and take a look at just the custom battles just to see what they're intending to do. So right here it just defaults to the Western Roman Empire. That's not an actual force that you can have. Here you can see all the various forces that they're going to have present that you can use. So again, you see most of the ones that were present in Rome 2. A couple changes to the icons. It all looks really nice and cleaned up. So you can see they're going to come in and definitely try and bring it all to life again. Now, at the moment, not all of these factions are playable. Let's go ahead and start with the Roman Republic. And it does say Roman Republic because the idea for this mod is to go in and let's go ahead and basically pick up at the end, or towards the end of the Second Punic War is where this mod picks up. And so Rome is going to be basically in that time frame, and then through tech you can then go all the way up into the late Imperial Age, kind of like the way Rome 2 did, but with a later start date for this mod. In any case, you can see the units right here. They're adding more and more to these. So General, you can use Publius Cornelius Scipio, or these Equites Extraordinari. One of the first things I want to point out is, let's go to the unit info here. Look at the number of cavalry in here. One of the things this mod does, which is amazing, is it partners with DEI, so they have a lot of the units are shared resources with them, or they're going to be doing that in the future. And then they've redone the stats, simplified it, compacted it, and then they also played with the unit spacing and number. So for example, here my general's unit has 150 cavalry. That is very, very awesome. Next, you can see the spear units. I really like the models on these. So Cohors Extraordinari and then the Triarii. So they're doing the distinction between the Italian communities, the allies to the Romans, and then Rome's own forces, which I really love. I was salivating at this from a historical perspective. But again, look at this. The Triarii, 300 men in their unit. Next, we can go to the melee infantry. You have, again, the cohors Sociorum, which is going to be the Italian allies, supplying troops to the Roman legions. And then you have Hastati and Principes right there. Again, 240 men, so huge numbers. Here you have the Velites with 240 men in them. Bonus versus elephants and chariots, and you can see ammunition is very, very down low, so they basically only have 3 volleys for these guys. At the moment, they don't have all the units fleshed out. Like I said, they will push the Roman tech into kind of where Rome 2 went towards the end, where you'll have, legionary cohorts and stuff like that. First cohort, what I have heard is they're going to intend to do the first cohort, just like how it was historically, have it larger than other cohort units. I'm looking forward to details like that, manifesting themselves. But for the time being, you're stuck in sort of, the Second Punic War, the end of it, kind of what Rome would have fielded. And then you have melee cavalry, so Equites, 150 horsemen. Equites Extraordinari, again, these are the allied Latin and Italian communities supplying those. Equites Sociorum from the late period, and then you have Tarentine Cav. So Roman units having a pretty good diversity. I really like this, and the models themselves are really nice. We can go ahead and then look at, I can't show you any of the other factions because, for example, the Arvasi, they don't have any units for the time being. The only other one is going to be Carthage, and take a look at this. Boom. Carthage has a huge faction roster, and this is what got me really excited. So again, as I cursor, do a cursor over all these, you can see just how many of each unit there are. You can choose Hannibal Barca. He comes with 153 horsemen, excellent charge bonus, all that stuff, very, very cool. The war elephants are devastating, 64. There's no way there's 64. There's 64 men on the elephants themselves. You'll see this when we do gameplay really soon. But the elephants are much larger units. I think there's maybe like 20 of them, but yeah, you'll see in the future. Sacred Band. Anyways, let's go into the spear infantry. So this is what I really like. Sicilian hoplites. If you guys have followed history or my historical videos, you know that Carthage had presence in Sicily. So for example here, you can draw on cheap Sicilian hoplites. Sicilian spearmen. I really like that you have a Carthaginian roster that reflects the diversity of its actual forces. They could draw on Tarentine hoplites to their cause. Sabellian spearmen, from Italy. Samnite spearmen, who were always, kind of angry at Rome and I believe, yeah, some of them would have gone to fight for the Carthaginians. So that again is represented here. Citizen militia from Carthage. They historically had people coming from Carthage itself. Not very many, but there were still some forming in the ranks. More of these guys. 240 again, has missile weapons. Here, Punic levies. Punic Therophoroi. Not really sure what that is. Libyan spearmen. So again, Libyan troops, crack units. Italian infantry in the mix, and here is what I really like: African veterans, straight up. This is supposed to be Hannibal's forces, core forces, the guys he used to invade Italy. I think that's what that's supposed to represent. So that is really cool. I love that, how you have these really high tier guys that are supposed to represent, the core of Hannibal's forces. So you can bring that to the battlefield. Sacred Band, of course, and a late Sacred Band right there. Then you can go into melee infantry, where you have Celtic war bands, Iberian forces, and Iberian Scutari. So again, drawing on mercenaries, and these units, take a look at this: 360 men, 240 and 240. So if you want to get some Celtic warbands, they're going to be huge units. Compare that to let's see, yeah, Sicilian hoplites, 240. You can swarm those guys. Carthaginian marines, you can bring some of these guys. Not very good units. Bow infantry, Berber Sardinians, Berber slingers, and you have Libyans. Take a look at these javelin men from different places: Sicily, Ligurians. I love all the different names and inclusions of different cultures. But these guys, I want to talk a little bit about the differences they did to the units. So javelin men are supposed to pack a huge punch. They do a lot of damage with their missiles, but they only have 3 ammunition and short range. Compare that to archers. Archers have 12 ammo, so they can do more damage. And with the 1 HP system that they're introducing to this game, they can do consistent damage over time. But it's not as much as the skirmishers. Come to the Balearic Slingers. Balearic Slingers have a different niche, which is to say archers can shoot, pretty good range. Slingers have the furthest range, which is historical. And they have high ammo compared to the archers. So, archers are good medium range, consistent damage. Slingers are long range, lots of ammo, keep up the fight. And skirmishers are close range, high damage, low ammo. So I like how that plays out. Huge assortment of melee cav. 151 of these Celtic light cav. And it looks like, all these horsemen have about the same. I'd love to see them distinguish that a bit more. Iberian citizen cav, Libyan Phoenician, Italian cavalry, Iberian Scutari, Sacred Band, and Sacred Band. Skirmisher cav, you have the famed Numidian cavalry here. Very cool, excellent rate of fire, good stats on those guys. Tarantine Cav, and then finally the Elephant. So I really love how fleshed out the roster is. I'm looking forward to seeing them, flesh this out for all the different factions. This is a hefty project, but in terms of the partnerships they're forming, it is going to be really cool. As I said, the map itself is going to try and recreate the end of the Second Punic War. So stay tuned for more news. I am going to be diving into the battles and the details and that, so stay tuned. At the end of this battle, we'll be going for a big portion of looking, okay, how does this play out in the campaign, or on the battlefield map. For campaign map and general overview, definitely check out Total Warzone. Anyways, let's go ahead and get straight to the testing. One of the first things that manifests itself in this game is the 1 hit point system. The way that works is basically, as opposed to having health for each unit, they only have 1 hit point, and so they die much more quickly and evenly. This really shows itself in terms of archery and range units, which then can do more spread out damage as opposed to having to chew through armor and health, and then finally only at the end of 3-4 volleys do you see people drop. No, that's not the case here. You see more even distribution of kills. Also, they changed some of the arcing fire of archers, so as units are really far away, you'll see the shots arch up much higher in the air. As the units then get closer, the shots get more and more direct. I feel it's a nice change, much more realistic looking, and it definitely plays very well. And here you can start to see, every volley takes out more and more men. So again, that 1 hit point system at work. Now, obviously, it's a system that you have to tweak over time, but here you can see the main differences. It really changes the way archers play out, where you can really pick at the enemy force from a distance, and different units will play out differently. So, for example, archers can get okay amount of kills, and the damage done by archers actually has morale damage that it's able to do to units. Javelins, on the other hand, then just do more kills overall, and slingers have a more rapid rate of fire, they have more ammo, and they can shoot from a distance. The next test we're going to do is, again, 2 archers against 2 of the same units, just the cohorts. And these guys, one is going to be in shield wall as it moves forward, attacking Testudo. And so you can see, 237, he's lost 3 men. The other group has lost 8 men, so again, you start to see the differences become more manifest. And I wanted to point out the attacking Testudo here looks really cool when you have a group of 240 units. As they get even closer, again, you can see only 7 losses here. The other one is suffering more casualties. And again, once more with the 1 HP system, these kills are being inflicted over time as the units, make their approach. So I think that does help definitely change the dynamic up for the game. It changes the time to kill on lots of units, so you can't have early action against infantry, pull back, engage in the fight, and then keep using these archers, at a different point in time. And again, these huge numbers of units is what I really like in this mod. It makes it much more cinematic and epic, and it brings the grand scale of battles. Now on to the different skirmisher units that I started to talk about. Javelins, for instance, here don't have quite the range of the archers or slingers, but what they do have the ability to do is a lot of damage when it gets up close. You saw before the archers were doing, chipping away at the units, but here, look at this. Volleys and volleys coming in from the archers, definitely getting a lot of kills with every strike. So that's the purpose of the javelin, is to do a lot of close-up damage to units. However, in this case, they don't actually have that much ammo. I think they only have 3-4 volleys. And then take a look at this. This unit of 200 javelin men. If you give them a lot of ammo, that's way too many javelins. So they kind of balance that out by making it so they have limited ammo, which means you have to be strategic in how you use them. And then after that, they're kind of like light troops that you can use for engagements, but still, 200 units is not something to snuff at, and they can hold up units for a decent amount of time. So again, having nice balancing of units, they definitely play very differently. The test here is going to be 2 equites charging 2 types of spearmen. One is going to be Sacred Band, obviously much better. The other one is going to be Punic levies. So you can watch the charge here. Cavalry dynamics have changed in this game. Spearmen, all spearmen, or I think most spearmen, actually have the ability to hold out much better against cavalry. So you saw here the different stats. So the Sacred Band, 287, and look at this, these equites on the charge, you will take damage from charging units. So as opposed to the way Attila normally works, is when you go and you charge into a unit, cavalry don't really get inflicted damage. In this case, they've changed around the stats such that both forces do take damage. And so on any charge, cavalry will probably lose several units, and that's much more pronounced in these types of battles. Take a look at this. The Sacred Band really not taking many kills. The equites starting to lose more and more men, and as the battle continues, you can see the fight evening out. So despite long, thin lines of infantry like this, the spears, they still held out spectacular against cavalry, and some of your more elite guys like Sacred Band and other units, even infantry, normal infantry, as long as they have the discipline trait, they'll be able to hold out much longer. Equites there broke, and the equites right here are about to die, but at the end of the test we pulled them back. Punic levies, 170. Sacred Band definitely holding out much better. So here's the second test that I wanted to show you. 2 cavalry units charging a spear and a sword unit. So they're charging into here. Again, cavalry is going to take some damage at the start, but take a look at this. It's partially due to the numbers and also the change in stats that the infantry and the cheap spear unit were not completely run over as would be expected in Attila. So take a look at that. The equites here actually took about 14 kills right there, just up front from the charge. So you have to be much more careful about the way you use your men. The Samnite Spearmen taking a lot of damage there. The Celtic Warband here, I just have to click play, and then now you'll start to see their numbers start to drop as the charge takes effect. So yeah, they lost 50, 60 men right off the charge, which is pretty devastating, but the unit size, you'll notice the Celtic Warband has 300 men, so they can sustain those losses, and the entire unit still keeps its cohesiveness, and the cavalry takes additional damage. So this completely revamps the cavalry infantry dynamics. It means you can't have cavalry just running everything over, which is a godsend compared to the way Attila mechanics work right now. So I'm glad for this mod that takes Attila and sort of brings it back to the Rome 2 era, that they're able to fix this cavalry type of battle. Over there you can see the equites that fought the Gothic Warband basically died, and they only killed 70 of the Celtic Warband. Yeah, they only killed 70 of them. So infantry in this can demonstrably, stand their own. Samnite Spearmen are holding their own, but they're taking pretty significant amounts of damage because Samnite Spearmen are cheap. So this does mean, there is a variety of which type of unit can hold out best against cavalry. It tends mostly to be elite units. So there you saw the Celtic warbands holding out against cavalry better than spearmen, but that's because those spearmen were again cheap. So I like the way the unit dynamics work. Here we're going to just charge straight up infantry versus infantry. Again, look at how the unit spacing and unit sizing is different between the Roman units and the, in this case, these are Carthaginians, but they're mercenary Celtic forces. So barbarian spacing and unit size is much different than the Romans, which again is nice. I like to see that differentiation. Cohorts right here, right after the charge, lost about 20 men, or yeah, between the two, maybe somewhere between 10 and 15 men. The warband right there with the pillow volley lost 15 men about in that battle. And we had fire at will turned off for the Celtic warband, just to see some of the stats, because they had 360 men. So as the battle is going underway, you can see the Celtic warband has lost maybe 40 men apiece. And we're going to fast forward and take a note of that. The Romans have also lost 40 men apiece. So the fighting is pretty even. And despite this having just one hit point for each unit, look how long it takes for these battles to fight out. It is very much like DEI in that respect, so you can hold out the center from initial pushes. You can't really push to the center because these units will hold out for so long, in part due to their number, but in part due to the stats being just completely diminished. So I like the ability to hold out, and in a straight up grinding fight, battles will take a pretty long amount of time. If you want to do that, what that does allow you to do is start pushing around the flanks. So here I'm introducing a new unit, Tarentine Cav. These guys are going to come in, they're Skirmisher Cav, and now you get to see the advantages of Skirmisher Cav. Take a look at this fight. It's a grinding fight. I'm going to position my Skirmisher Cav right behind it. Also note that Tarentine Cav here have directional fire. They don't have Parthian shot, so you have to face them at their targets, which means they're a little bit tricky to use. But in this case, take a look at this. They position themselves on the flank of the Celtic warband, and look at how much damage they're doing to this warband. Units will suffer penalties in this game. They revamped the way fatigue and morale works, and so when units are taking archer fire or fire like this, it actually does severe amounts of damage to them, both physically and also from morale. So after the third volley, take a look at this Celtic warbands. It drops to 223 and it breaks. There's something magic that I kind of found out in the testing of this battle, is when your unit drops to about 2/3 strength, it takes a pretty significant morale hit, and so you saw that Celtic unit with 200 men left breaking, which I think is really cool because that's more realistic, where you wouldn't wait for the entire force to be destroyed down to 10 men and then break. Here you have large clusters of troops retreating if their morale is shocked enough, and then they can reform. So, you know, the battle is definitely longer in this one. In this case, I just wanted to wrap around one of my freed up Roman infantry units just to see what the difference is between, you know, missile units in the back doing damage and getting flanked by infantry. And it seems here that definitely the cavalry doing massive amounts of damage rapidly did more damage to the Celtic warband. So I'm not quite sure what the modifiers are to morale, but it seems clear to me that getting shot quickly in the rear does more damage to just having infantry on your flank. So that's an interesting just little feature and note. And then here we attempt to see, okay, what happens if you try to pull through a Celtic warband unit. So it's kind of sticky because of the sheer number of units. Celtic warband is taking losses. As we pull through, then we're going to try and see, okay, how much damage are we doing to the Romans? They start to lose 2-3 men, a couple more men, and then it stops, and then automatically the Celtic warband gets basically destroyed. The morale just collapses, and there they go, they rout. So I'm not sure if that means pull through is fixed, but you can see clearly it was not very effective. It could also be due to the fact that that Celtic warband was pretty near exhaustion after having fought for a long time, and it just hit the breaking point. Next test is going to be for the elephants. This is one elephant unit right here. I really, really love how elephants actually have a lot of elephants in them instead of just having, you know, a handful or a dozen. Elephants are much, much scarier in this game. And so here we have Romans in quincunx formation, not as Scipio would recommend, trying to form up against the elephants, and we'll see kind of how this pans out. I wanted to see, okay, you have a lot of numbers in terms of elephants. Let's see how much damage they can do. So here we have them charging through the ranks. And with the sheer size of the elephant units, even though you tell them to target, for instance here we told them to target the middle unit, they'll spread out and hit a whole bunch of other units. So you can see they already came in and flattened, you know, our 4 frontmost units. And it turns out, with our testing, elephants are very, very strong. These aren't even Indian armored elephants, so they, you know, they're pretty naked, the elephants are here. But they can still do a tremendous amount of damage, which I think will have to be nerfed. What you'll see here is by the end of the battle, they end up, you know, here it's climbing 370. That's almost going to go to 400 really soon. And yeah, this is going to climb to about 1,000 kills by the end of the fight. I'm going to move in some velites just to try and see, you know, I was testing bit by bit, okay, what does it take to break these elephants? Keep in mind the velites, actually, they stripped a lot of abilities of units, so velites here don't have flaming shot. I thought that was kind of a ridiculous thing for velites to have, is the ability to have flaming javelins, so these units don't in this game. You'll have to wait for late tech units to do just that. But anyways, there goes one volley, and now we're going to get ready for a second volley into the elephants. Now normally that would kill a couple elephants in Attila and also Rome 2, but you can see the elephants are still going on. They're almost behaving like Syrian armored elephants from Rome 2. I don't know if this is due to the hit point system or what the health is on these guys, but they're very much tanks in this sense. And look at all the Roman bodies on the floor right there, already closing in on 600 kills. And again, as we mentioned before, Velites and Skirmishers, Javelin in particular, don't have very much ammo. And so I'm not quite sure what the appropriate counter is to the Elephant. I'm guessing it's something that you just have to, the creators of this mod definitely will have to continue to tweak and play with this. But I like that they're back to being a force to contend with. Next, I charge in some cavalry. Take a look on the left. I'm actually going to take out one of the elephants. So perhaps cavalry is maybe an answer. But still, these war elephants are getting a huge number of kills. They just broke 1,000 kills right there, 1,060. Finally, their morale is going to break. And I'm like, okay, now we're going to start to get some kills. But there's definitely something weird with the stats, because despite them routing, we still can't kill any elephants. So that's going to be it. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick recap of what's up with this mod. I definitely suggest you take a look at more of this. Yeah, stay tuned for more, and be sure to check out all the other videos that cover this mod in the near future. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.